Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. We're at the stage on Project BedBug where we're going to start looking at body working, but before I get into that, there are still some repairs that I need to do. So with Project BedBug, well, she's not in great shape. She still has little dings, dents, creases, etc., and maybe some ill-fitting panels. And at this point, I could spend a huge amount of time removing every single little dent and imperfection from the panels, but unfortunately, it's not economical. So if you remember BedBug from the start, it was absolutely covered with body filler. I mean, in some places, it was up to 1 inch thick, especially on the roof area. And these arches were kind of fiberglass onto the body, and there was just filler everywhere. And after removing pretty much all of the body filler and doing the repairs, it's time to get on with, well, reapplying the body filler. And the thing is, when you're using body fillers and fiberglasses, products like that, they do have an operating temperature. And currently in Japan, it's way beyond that. I mean, in some days, it's about 47 degrees in the workshop, which is no good for using body filler. So I wasn't sure if the body filler was going to work in these kind of temperatures. So what I've done is a test area on this wing here. I've applied some fiberglass on there and I've rubbed it back, and then I put some body filler over the top. And what I've also done is applied a layer of fiberglass paste onto the rear bumper just as a test. And these are the products I'll be using on bodyworking the BedBug. I've got a fiberglass paste here, and this is not a company I've used before. I've used fiberglass paste in the past, and it's great stuff. This stuff here, it comes in like a trade can, so I gave that a blast, mixed it up, and it seems to go off pretty well. And the next thing I'll be using is this here. It's a 3-stage filler system. You have a quite a heavy filler here, a medium weight, and a very fine one. And all you do, the filler inside is mixed with some hardener, and then you apply it onto the work that you're doing. With this one here, the 80 is very thick and gloopy, so large dents and imperfections can be removed with this one here. This one here is a medium one, just for going over the top of this one here, and just for a final finish is this one here. It's very fine, easy to sand, and that just makes you have a really good surface afterwards. And in extreme heat, this stuff does seem to work quite well. I mean, the hardener that's applied, I was mixing it to the correct ratio. In this case, it's like a golf ball to a pea. It does go off pretty fast, so what I had to do is work a bit quicker, but it does seem to work even in these insane temperatures. So when working with a lot of bare metal and putting filler straight over the top, obviously there's nothing stopping you from doing that, and it will work. I have been told back in the day though that the moisture that's in the filler could cause rust. So what I prefer to do is put something down first. And these are the products I'll be using here. This is a anti-corrosive primer, which I did spray onto the rear bumper before applying the filler. The rear bumper itself didn't have any rust or anything like that, but I did want to put something over the bare metal, and this worked pretty well. I mean, there's quite a few different types of primers out there, so make sure you do your homework on that. But yeah, just spray it on, let it go off, and then keyed it up and put the fiberglass over the top. On areas that are a little bit crusty or rusty, or previously crusty and rusty, I will be using this product here. I can spray it on, it will neutralize any of the rust there and form a barrier, and it is totally over paintable, so on top of that I could put my primer or my filler. And this is acrylic resin primer. It's designed to go over bare metal, and what it can do, it can stop rust coming through. But one thing to really notice about this product compared to this one, this is not a rust treatment. So if you're treating a good metal surface with this one here, it should stop the rust appearing in the first place. But if you do have rust, you will need to use a rust treatment. So from the very start, one of the worst areas on Project BedBug is actually this roof panel. Where it's had an accident at the front, it actually distorted it, and you can see that somebody has tried to pull this area out here, so it's had some kind of damage up here. But not only that, the whole roof is creased, it's dented, it was very rusty. And at the back here, well, someone's done a lot of work. They've kind of folded this panel over and welded it. I don't know exactly what's going on here either, but all this will need to be body worked. So this roof panel is totally distorted, and I could spend forever trying to sort this out or even put a new roof skin on, but that's not going to happen. What I'm going to do is I'll be using body fillers to make this acceptable. So as I already know, this roof was very rusty to start with, and there is a chance that there's bits of rust hiding in all the nooks and crannies still. I will have to put some treatment over the top before I put my body filler on. But before I put the body filler on, there's a couple of little adjustments that need to be done on these gutters. So on the gutters that run along here, well, first of all, there is no drain hole, so I need to do something with that. Not only that, I don't know if you can see this, but this here is all wavy and all over the place, and I don't exactly know what's going on around here, but it really is no good, and I really need to chop this section out, refab it up and weld it into position. And something else I have done is I did make an incision down here. The gap across this door here was non-existent, and just to get that gap back, I just made a little incision here, and I brought this area up ever so slightly with the slide hammer, and then I just welded it back into position. And it's the same story on the other side. I did have to make an incision there, but this time I had to bring this panel down. I've got a sneaking suspicion though that where this had this big accident here, it has done some kind of twist or some kind of damage up here on the pillars. But that was quickly sorted just by making a simple incision and welding it. So what I've done just here is I've cut out that rotty piece of corner, and then what I was left with was a split here, so I've just welded over that and ground it back. I suspect when they did all the repair work up here and across the back here, they may have used an arc welder, because there's lots of deep kind of areas like this, but they're not rotten, they just look very untidy. So then what I've done with this area here, I've just templated it out of a piece of cardboard like that. And then what I've done is I've cut it out of a piece of steel. And with the beetle roof skin, where they're folded over here, you have a double lip like this here. So it's like a double skin. In fact, there's one in the middle, so you could even call it a triple skin. And at the back here, well, it's just a single skin. But interestingly enough though, although it's a single skin and it's been on there a long time, it hasn't rotted out at all. So for this area here, instead of it being a double skin, what I'm going to do is do a bit of a compromise and just use a single piece of steel that's thicker than the back one. So there we go, that's that corner pretty much repaired, and all I've done is welded in a strip of metal, made some incisions, bent it round. I don't know if you can see here, but the angle of this section of the gutter is almost at 45 degrees and this is at 90 degrees, so I just had to meet those lines up there. I've welded it into position and trimmed it back. So what I need to do now is address the other side, and you can see it's pretty much the same situation. It's got a wonky line here. There is a lot of corrosion on this edge as well. Also, if you look here, the door gap is not right at the top. So what I'm going to do is, instead of making the incision here to do the gutter repair, I will actually be making it here, just so I can pull that panel in ever so slightly, get that gap a bit better, then remanufacture this bit of gutter strip. So what I've done here is pretty much the same as the other side. I've just cut the rusted section out that was a little bit wibbly wobbly and replaced it with a fresh bit of steel. What I also did though is I made an incision down here and I've just tapped this panel in and re-welded it. This way I've got my door gap back at the top. And what I've also done is I've cleaned up the top of the roof section using the wire wheel on the angle grinder and also the DA, and you can really see where these darker patches are actually rust, and you can see just how bad this repair is on the back of the roof section. So in an ideal world, you'd be cutting this section off the back and refabricating it, but BedBug is not like that. It is pretty much just doing what you can with what you've got. So this whole area here will have a coat of rust treatment before I get on with the bodywork. So I've roughly masked the roof section up, and what I can do now is spray my rust treatment onto this area. I'm not too worried about overspray at this point. I mean, the whole car needs to be prepped, but it's nice just to keep some of this overspray off the doors and inside. So I will be using this stuff here, and I will be diluting it ever so slightly so it flows better through the gun. This is a water-based product, so, well, I dilute it with water. So I've just applied a heavy coat of the rust treatment spray on the roof area. All I can do now is wait for it to dry, so I need to get on with something else. So the next thing I need to look at on BedBug is this rear cover and how I'm going to actually support it in that position, and I will be using gas struts. And these are quite generic gas struts. They're available in lots of different lengths and also different strengths. So the first thing I had to do was measure them up. These particular gas struts, they do close down on themselves. So what I did is I measured the body from the stud here, and then I also measured the end here. So once I know the closed length, all I need to do is measure the open length, which is between these two studs here. So I want the cover, when it's open, to sit at about this angle. So what I've already done is I've drilled a pilot hole here for one of the fixings. So with that pilot hole drilled, I can offer up the gas strut into its position, and it's going to sit about here. And so then I know its open position, so I have just marked it across here. What I will need to do though is I need somewhere to actually bolt this on. It does come with a mount which goes this way, so what I'll be doing is using a bit of angle line here to strengthen this area. So I know now if I put a mount down here and a point here as well, I know the open position, and as for the closed position, well, that's relatively simple. I know how long it's going to be when it's closed, so I've actually just marked it here, and I've marked it on the bed as well. But what I've done is I've allowed a little bit more, probably a couple of centimeters. So I'll be using a bit of angle iron under here, and there's a reason for that. When the gas strut is closed, it doesn't need room to sit underneath this bed. So if I put the pivot point here, when it's closed, if I mounted it here, it just wouldn't close. It will be hitting against this part here. So what I need to do is just make a drop down bracket. And doing so, once this is in its closed position, it will be sitting down here, and it will actually be sitting in the recess of the bed cover here. So what I need to do now is cut a couple of lengths of angle iron and make a little closing panel at the back here and weld them into position at the back underneath here. So what I've done is I've just knocked up some brackets using the angled steel, like these fellas here. These will be welded underneath the framework along these edges here. And what I've also done is I've just made a little shape at the front there just to make it look a little bit more pretty. So what I've done both sides is I've just tacked these brackets into position, and what I've also done is just marked the little holes there for the brackets. So the brackets at the back will be in this kind of position. They're slightly further in to allow for the clearance on this lip here. When the strut is also bolted in, the stud here will actually stick out this way. So I've allowed enough for a nut, but the threads will possibly be too long. So what I'll do is I'll just trim the back of the threads off here, just so this part as it comes down doesn't touch it. So that works pretty well. The gas struts are now installed. I do need to finish welding these areas up here, but at least I can test it. I mean, at the moment, that feels great. It's nice and strong. It's not going to blow down in the wind or anything like that. And when it's in the shut position, it sits nicely on those rubber buffers at the back. I still have no locks, latches, handles, but I do have a screwdriver, which works really well just to open it up. And there we go. So that was quite successful, getting those gas struts fitted. The word on the street is that the customer has ordered another pair of them for the front section of this cover. So installing gas struts does take an element of measuring and maths, but something that doesn't take a lot of maths is the amount of filler that I need to put in this roof. And the answer is lots of filler. You can see here where there's a lot of damage and the previous repairs at the back. To bulk this out, I will be using fiberglass first, followed by body filler. So I've left the treatment on the roof to cure overnight. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to scotch the area up before I apply some fiberglass, and I'll be applying fiberglass to the welded areas and also this area on the back here. So that's the fiberglass on, and it may look like I have just chucked that on in a hurry, And that's exactly what I've done. I've mixed up the fiberglass and I've put it on as quickly as possible. That's why it doesn't look so neat. And the reason why is as soon as I started mixing it, it was going off on the mixing board. So it's all about the temperature in the workshop. It's extremely hot. But what I need to do now is let that cure off, and I need to look at the underside of this bonnet. So although the top of the bonnet looks pretty good, the underside looks absolutely terrible. So I won't be changing the bonnet at this point. What I'm going to do is use the flat wheel just to kind of prep the rusted areas up, and possibly the DA around these areas that are white. And then what I'm going to do is treat the whole area with that special rust spray. So just before the fiberglass has fully cured, I just hit it with a coarse grit and the DA just to get the shape a little bit better. And what I can do now is start applying the body filler. The center section of the roof here is creased, it's dented, it's not very good. So what I'll end up doing is pretty much filling the whole roof and then taking it back with the DA. So what I've done is I've applied the first stage of the body filler and I've sanded it back. And I haven't gone too mad in the sanding process. All I'm trying to do is get the rough shape right. And this is in preparation for the next stage on the body filler. So I'm waiting for the body filler to dry, so while that's curing off, it gave me a chance to finish off the inside of this bonnet. So as I've mentioned before, the front edge of these long bonnets are very weak, and this one did start to have a tiny crack. So what I've done is I've just welded in a section on the underside and then just plug welded the top. And what I've done here, just using the flat wheel on the angle grinder and a DA, is just trying to remove as much flaky paint and surface rust as possible. So I need to put on the rust treatment now. What I've done is I've loosely masked off the edge of the bonnet just so it doesn't get any on the other side. I'm just going to go for it and spray the whole inside. So that's the inside of the bonnet now coated with that special rust treatment. And what I've also been doing is DA sanding and blocking down this roof. And I do know what you're thinking, that is a lot of filler going into that roof section. And yes, you are totally right, but it is for good reason. Unfortunately, BedBug's roof wasn't in very good condition and it was absolutely caked in filler from the start. And to put this right, it would absolutely blow our budget out of the water. So refabricating the whole roof section for BedBug would cost an absolute fortune, and unfortunately the budget on this car will not stretch that far. But it does stretch as far as using rust treatment and fiberglass and filler. So using body filler and treatment on areas like this, it gets the job done fast, which means that the project will be completed faster. And if you are using body fillers to repair large areas like this and you want to get the job done faster, what I do is I actually overload the panel. I apply too much body filler and then I use quite a coarse grit on the DA as it's curing, just to take it down a bit. Then afterwards I can then drop the grade on the DA disc and I can get a finer finish. And after taking down the filler, you can see here, it is almost opaque in areas. So although it may look like I've totally loaded the panel up, there isn't actually a huge amount of filler left on these areas. And another thing I've been struggling with is heat and getting this filler on quick enough. I don't know if you can see that, it's currently 48.9 degrees. It is really hot in this workshop, and just trying to get the ratio correct with the hardener in the filler is very difficult. So another ridiculously hot day in the workshop, but I'm going to carry on blocking this filler down. Really glad you guys could join me for today's episode, and I'll see you next time. Cheers! Oh, I almost forgot before you go, if you're interested, I am going to leave you with a little bit more Japanese culture at the end of this episode. So the other day we went to a fireworks festival. It was amazing. Who doesn't like fireworks? And the other day also we set off some sparklers in the garden, which is great. But these guys had sparklers, but they were in tubes that are about 1 meter high and they were holding them. It's quite bizarre. You've got to watch it. See you next time.
始まりました。それでは皆様お約束の掛け声で応援をお願いします。せーの、わっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっしょいわっし 迫力の3本同時上げご覧いただきましょう。皆様も力強いご唱和をお願いいたします。せーの、わっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃいわっしゃい 素晴らしい ありがとうございました。せーの。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。ありがとうございました。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。わっしょい。ありがとう。